Well, if it weren't for Warner Brothers, I guarantee you that Dune 2 would be on this list. Welcome back to the continuation of the Show Me Movies End of the Year rankings. Today I'm giving my top 15 movies of the year because I couldn't whittle my list down to 10. There were 15 movies that I knew that I absolutely had to talk about, and it's also just more fun to talk about movies that you love rather than movies that you dislike. There's still two movies that I haven't seen that I think would have a decent shot at ending up on this list, that being American Fiction and The Zone of Interest. They just haven't been in theaters around me, and I haven't gotten a chance to see them, even though those are two movies that look really good, and I think that I'd enjoy. But with that out of the way, let's get into number 15, which is Barbie. My first ever review that I did on this channel was of Barbie, followed by Oppenheimer, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Barbie the first time that I saw it. I thought that it was a really good movie, but I was left a little bit insulted by it. And then I saw it again, and my opinion completely changed on it, and I really, really dug the movie, and I took away a completely different message from it, and I really enjoyed it. So I think that the first review that I gave for this movie is not true to my opinion of it today, and yeah, I think Barbie was definitely a top 15 movie of the year. Really interesting movie that I really enjoyed. Coming in at number 14 is Killers of the Flower Moon, another movie that I did a review for back in October. This movie was long, but damn was it good. Lily Gladstone, I think, is definitely first or second in contention for an Oscar in this movie. She stands out in a cast of absolutely phenomenal actors, and this movie brings a much needed dialogue to a topic that has not been discussed, that being of the murder of the Osage people. On a completely different note, coming in at number 13 is Dream Scenario. I loved this movie. This movie was so fun. Probably the funniest movie that I've seen all year. Nicolas Cage was phenomenal in this movie. He's not going to get an Oscar nomination for it, but damn, was it one of my favorite performances of his. It also just gives a very unique look on social media fame. Has a lot to say about cancel culture as well, but this movie was so much fun. Coming in at number 12 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I absolutely love the Mission Impossible movies. Mission Impossible Fallout is honestly one of my favorite action movies of all time. If I did these videos in 2018, it would have been my number one on this list because I love Mission Impossible Fallout. So Dead Reckoning had a lot to live up to, and it did for the most part. I was still left at least a little bit disappointed because, again, Mission Impossible Fallout is just that good. The action sequences in this movie are great, but comparing it to the rest of the franchise, it's just alright, which shows how good this franchise has been. Coming in at number 11, one of the biggest surprises of the year for me was The Covenant. I didn't really have any expectations going into this movie. Me and my dad just went to go see it on a whim because we had nothing else to do. I think it was on a Monday night. And this movie was a pleasant surprise. I've never been the biggest Guy Ritchie fan, but Jake Gyllenhaal delivered a masterful performance in this movie. It doesn't idolize war in any way. Anthony Starr was good in the limited screen time that he had, and it's just a very heartfelt action movie that's based off of a true story, which is even more insane. Coming in at number 10 is the most recent review that I did, that being Poor Things, starring Emma Stone. She's probably going to win the Oscar for this movie. I know I said that Lily Gladstone had a shot, but my prediction right now would be Emma Stone because she delivers one of the best performances of the year. This movie has a lot of thematical lessons to it about sex work, among multiple other things, and is an absolutely beautiful movie. The set design's insane. The costumes are great. The cinematography is honestly probably the best of the year. The only other movie is something that I will talk about later on this list, but Poor Things is definitely a top 15 movie of the year. Coming in at number 9 is Air. starring Matt Damon and directed by Ben Affleck, you know that you're going to get a solid movie when those two are paired together. And this movie is a very inspiring story about sports, which is something that I absolutely love. If you came to watch these videos from me and Josh over on Show Me Football, you know how much that we both love sports as well. And Air is definitely the best sports movie of the year. Coming in at number 8 is Ironclaw. I know I said that Air was the best sports movie of the year. In this movie, I wouldn't really consider it a sports movie because this movie is a story about loss. This movie is a story about tragedy, and Zac Efron delivers an absolutely brilliant performance in this movie. It's an absolute gut punch of a movie, and you're going to be left absolutely destroyed by it, but it is definitely something worth a watch. Coming in at number 7, on a completely different note, something that is not going to destroy you, but is something that's going to really be uplifting to you and really shows how much power some people have. That is Dumb Money. I absolutely love Paul Dano and just about anything that he does, and he was brilliant in this movie. I absolutely love his performance as Keith Gill, I believe was his name. But Dumb Money was a very under-the-radar movie that I saw with a pretty solid cast that was hilarious and really showed you how much power the people of this country can have sometimes and how evil Wall Street can be. Coming in at number 6 is John Wick Chapter 4. I absolutely love the John Wick franchise, and I could not wait to see this movie. This was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it was brilliant. One of the best action movies of all time, and for it to only be at number 6 on this list shows you how good of a year this was for movies. It was a very satisfying, I pray to God, end for the John Wick franchise, because this movie does it right. It ends John Wick's story at the right point. And sure, I would absolutely love to see more stories from this universe, especially with Kane. But the John Wick story probably needs to end, and this was the perfect ending for it. Coming in at number 5, by far and away the best superhero movie of the year, that being Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. This movie is so good. The animation is great. In a time where multiverse movies are a dime a dozen, this movie stands out above the rest and does it in a unique and different way that I have not seen done before. It builds off of the previous Spider-Verse movie and is just so incredibly good. Coming in at number 4 is the movie that I watched last night and the competition to Poor Things for Best Cinematography of the Year being Anatomy of the Fall. This movie was so damn good. It's a courtroom drama about a woman who possibly killed her husband and them debating if she did it or not. This movie is so good. It's 2.5 hours, but I could watch it for 5. It was riveting. It was tense. That's the best way to describe it. Just the most tense movie of the year. It was so well acted. It was so well paced. It is one of my favorite movies of the year, and I cannot recommend you guys to go see it enough. And again, the cinematography in this movie is so unique, so cool. It's shot like a documentary at times, and then it's shot like a normal movie usually is. It's just so unique, so different, but so good. At number 3 is the least tense movie of the year, and a movie that makes you feel like you're just embraced in a hug, is The Holdovers. I know that Alexander Payne said that he didn't want this movie to be that at all, but Paul Giamatti plays Paul Hunham as one of the most lovable Scrooge McDucks ever. And honestly, he would be my pick to win the Oscar right now. I could watch the characters in this movie just exist for the entire second semester because it's just a very fun group of people to see act their asses off, because this movie is just so fun, so joyful. And there are moments that pull at your heartstrings, but it's still just a very, very, very heartwarming movie. Coming in at number 2, the most anticipated movie of the year for many people, that is Oppenheimer. This movie did not fail to live up to Christopher Nolan's fame. He made a 3-hour biopic with no CGI shots and made over $1 billion in the box office. An absolute accomplishment for cinema. It gives me faith that movies like this will continue to get made and continue to make money, which at the end of the day is the only thing that matters to these studios. But Oppenheimer is one of the best movies of the year. Before we get into number one, I want to give some honorable mentions on this list, starting with The Boy and the Heron, which was a film by Hayao Miyazaki, which I thoroughly enjoyed, one of the best animated movies of the year. Bottoms was another really fun comedy movie that I got a chance to go see. Didn't quite crack the top 15, but still a very enjoyable time. Marshawn Lynch is absolutely phenomenal in it. Knock at the Cabin was a new M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I'm a decent M. Night fan. This movie really, really, really worked for me. I absolutely love Dave Bautista's performance in it. The child actor in this movie delivered one of the best child performances of the year, and it was a very interesting but simple M. Night Shyamalan movie. Another honorable mention is Talk to Me, a film directed by two Australian YouTubers, and it was one of the best horror movies of the year and definitely worth a watch if you have not seen it. My final honorable mention is Past Lives. This would have probably been number 16 on my list. It was a very, very, very good movie about two people and their relationship across decades and them reconnecting, finding each other, but at the end of the day, not ever being able to work it out due to just the fate of the universe. With those out of the way, number one is Godzilla Minus One. This movie absolutely blew me away. This isn't only my favorite movie of the year, this was by far the biggest surprise of the year, and I think that that's what makes it so good to me. I've seen almost all of the American-made Godzilla movies, and I thought that they were fine, big, monster fun with humans that you did not care about. This movie is so incredibly good at developing the human characters, and it's a story about a man overcoming his failures in World War II and living with the regret of him not being a kamikaze pilot and society shunning him and castrating him, to the end of the movie where he is uplifted and people tell him to live, and it's just such a good story and they do it so well. There's a few cheesy moments, but you don't really care at the end of the movie. The action's insanely good. It's shot incredibly well. For the budget to be less than $15 million and for it to look this good, I cannot recommend you guys to go see this movie enough. It is the best movie of the year for me. And with that out of the way, let me know what your top 10, top 5, maybe even top 15, what were your favorite movies of 2023? I thought that this was a really good year for movies. I didn't necessarily think that about a month ago, but with how many movies I've seen in the last month, I definitely did miss out on a few, and I'm glad that I was able to go rewatch them. Again, Zone of Interest and American Fiction are two other movies that I haven't seen yet that would have a decent shot at ending up on this list. But again, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Let me know your top movies of the year. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we will see you in the next movie review.